Thanks for joining us today to discuss life and godliness with Rick and Angela Carter. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, email us at cartersforhope@gmail.com. That's Carters, the number 4, hope@gmail.com. Any questions you have, we'll discuss in future episodes. Right now, sit back and let's join in on the conversation. Hey, everyone. Oh, look, we forgot to put up the...
Yeah, we did. It's been a day.
Well, there you go. But I am wearing this cool KU shirt.
Yes, very much so.
But I gotta say, oops. I gotta say, I gotta say, I'm not enjoying college sports as much as I used to because of all the stupid NIL stuff. In case anyone cares about that, but
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast.
Anyway, we are not where we anticipated to be.
Anticipated to be.
We were supposed to be in Dodge City, Kansas.
We're supposed to be recording a podcast in Kansas.
That's right. And here we are in Oklahoma.
And we're in Oklahoma.
Are you just going to repeat everything?
Yep.
We got our truck fixed, and then we started driving, and there was just some things that it was clear. God made it clear.
The truck got fixed.
The truck did get fixed.
Got unfixed.
Well,
with a different problem.
It seemed like there was a problem, and then it went away. But when it seemed like there was a problem,
it was bad.
It was like, we just need to do something different. And God literally opened the doors while we were driving and provided a vehicle for us. So we got another truck. We got a new truck.
Yes.
And and then after we got all that settled while we're driving and bought a truck, the problem went away. So I think God brought the problem up just to get us to buy a new truck. That's my theory currently.
I don't know.
I will say this though,
for a long time.
Getting the truck repaired, the first estimate we got was $4,600.
Yes.
And then that fell through. We didn't have the money for that. And then another estimate, and that person didn't come through. And then it was the last thing we wanted to do was take it to a dealership.
Last ditch effort.
And there was nowhere else to take it. And so we took it to the dealership and they fixed it for less than $1,000. And
was like a miracle in itself.
The fact that it's currently fixed, we felt like there might be a problem. I think there was a problem. And then it went away and didn't happen for hundreds of miles.
I don't know.
It's time to sell the truck.
Who knows? I think we're tempting fate. I think we would have been tempting fate if we had kept it longer.
Yeah,
so.
It was time to.
And really, we just need to get from point A to point B.
That's all we care about. All we care about is point A and B and C and D and E.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Anyway, but enough of our life story.
Hey, we had a great time up in New York.
We did. We had great meetings.
And we had a great trip. We drove from Syracuse, New York back to Chesterton, and then we drove in one day, and then we were there a day, and then the truck they took it in the first thing in the morning, fixed it that day, less than $1,000. Yesterday morning we got in the truck, started driving, intending to go to Kansas, ended up coming to Oklahoma, picked up the new truck today, did a bunch of stuff trying to get things ready. Tomorrow we'll get the rest of it done. And we head out Saturday back to, we're going to Kansas on Saturday.
But you know what I think is just amazing about our travels?
Tell me.
We drove up to Indiana. Well, on our way up to Indiana, we had a couple of meetings. Mm-hmm. Met new preachers.
Right.
For me, I know maybe you've messaged them or talked to them on the phone, but
obviously, if we were there, we met.
Meeting them in person, hit it off, had phenomenal meetings. Yeah. And then we drove over to New York, was in another meeting, and I know they came to a Hope Conference, but
she didn't.
I was in the kitchen, so I didn't meet them. So, but just new for me, just hit it off really well. And then on our way back down, we were able to stop in one of those towns that we had done a meeting, have lunch with the pastor and his wife because we really connected.
End up in Chesterton, and several pastors in Chesterton.
A couple of pastors in Chesterton and DeMott, and just hit it off. And then even on our way past, diverted, going a different route back to Oklahoma, stopping, meeting another pastor and his wife that we got a good relationship with. And then on Saturday, we're driving to Kansas, and we're going to meet another pastor and his wife that we have a really good
Also, and
relationship.
one came to meet us at the gas station.
Yeah, see, that's what I was saying.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay.
So anyway, so it's, to me, it's just like awesome that the Lord has given us some new friends, some new relationships, and
Mhm.
even as we're driving, being able to stop and just enjoy a little bit of fellowship, even if it's like, for instance, at the gas station with the one pastor and his wife, you know, it was 30 minutes.
Mhm.
But just sweet fellowship, just such an encouragement to me. I love that the Lord has given its friends all across the country.
Yes.
Anyway, so I just had to express that.
Good expression.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Don't
much.
make me cry.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, right. Anyway,
Oh my goodness.
we're tired.
Our topic tonight,
Yeah, all
and
of
it
that
is
to say.
tonight, by the way.
So there's no telling what you're going to get in this podcast.
It is tonight, but our topic is honoring your father and mother. Honoring.
Honoring.
Well, we get this question fairly frequently.
Yes. Quite often.
Not necessarily as a podcast request, but just from people
In communication.
asking counseling questions. And this is a pretty consistent question. One, what does it even mean to honor your father and mother? And two, what do you do if your father and mother are doing wrong and or have done wrong and are not getting right? And what does honoring look like? Are you still responsible to honor them? What does it even look like? How would that be?
Yeah.
And that's kind of I think it's a very good question.
Yeah.
And to be honest, as you think about that commandment in the Bible, you know, it's back in Exodus 20, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the earth,
Upon the land,
which the Lord thy God hath given thee. And then in the New Testament, in Ephesians, I think he mentions it again in Deuteronomy, right? And then in Ephesians, and he mentions it in the Gospels. I mean, Christ mentions it in the Gospels. So it is oft repeated. I'd say no less than 4 or 5 times in the Scriptures, at least, that the Bible gives this command and reiterates it through the New Testament. It's not something that God said, you know, that you should look at and go, well, that's an Old Testament. You know, it certainly is Old Testament. It's part of the moral law. The moral law has not been abolished. It's been fulfilled in Christ in that sense.
Regardless of what society says.
But God still expects us not to steal and kill and commit adultery. And God still expects us to honor our father and mother. And so that's it's clear in the Scriptures, it's a command from God. And it's also interesting that there isn't a pre-qualification to it, like honor your father and mother if they're good people, if they have done well as parents, if, you know, you approve of their, you know, opinions and persons and, you know, whatever they can. There's no pre-qualification. It literally is a responsibility, a command that Jesus reiterated and Paul reiterated in Ephesians. It is a command with promise, and it is a command without qualification. And so all people are responsible to, you know, honor their parents. And it probably ought to be pointed out that there are no perfect parents.
No.
Angela was maybe the closest there ever was.
Oh. Whatever. Okay, what do you want?
There are no perfect parents. Every parent makes mistakes, and every parent has failures. Every parent's a sinner. And so there's not going to be this like, well, my parents were perfect or something like that. And sometimes people take that aspect of their parents' failures as a reason why I no longer have to honor them.
Right.
Which is an unbiblical position to take, right?
Yes.
Or as some people might say, dumb. All right. So Angela's tired. So that's why we get the dumb. So let's talk about, what does it mean to honor your parents?
Okay.
Okay. So from a Maybe a biblical perspective, we might say honoring means to respect them in the way you treat them, like your actions toward them, the way you talk to them,
Mm-hmm.
not being disrespectful in your tone and in your words,
Having
attitude with them all the time, right? And then also respect in the sense of how you talk about them, not just to them,
Mm-hmm.
not running them down to other people.
And this kind of goes back to one of our episodes we talked about before. Not everything needs to be said in public or to other people.
That's true.
I mean, keep private things private.
Yeah, and their failures are what they are, but your failures will be what yours are too.
Yeah,
And
do you want everybody to point out your own?
correct. I mean, and you might say, well, mine aren't as bad as theirs, but you don't know how your kids are going to perceive your failures. That's the reality.
And besides that, God doesn't say spread it if yours isn't as bad.
That's true too. So,
Mm.
There definitely needs to be a gratitude shown to parents. They did give you life. And maybe we might say, well, and generally speaking, they raised you. Maybe you didn't have both parents raise you. Maybe your grandparents raised you. Something like that. Maybe adopted parents raised you. But whoever raised you is worthy of honor for investing their time, their effort. As messed up as they may have been, they are still,
They didn't kill you.
if you're listening to this, they didn't. So,
There
there ought to be
something you
there ought
can
to be
be thankful
gratitude
for.
shown toward
Yes.
what they did, even if it was meager.
Yes.
There should be gratitude for what they did. And then, that then translates as they get older with the idea of, hey, forgiving them their failures and shortcomings, showing them grace, and not trying to retaliate for offenses you felt like you have endured or something like that,
Right.
but kind of giving grace in that sense, and then caring for them as to what you feel like you are able or they need. I mean, not just in what you're able in a sense of, well, I'm giving a token thing, but actually doing what you can to help them. And I'm aware of this, that there's some parents that are high demanding people, that basically they want you to care for them, but you're going to do it their way. And I don't think that you're necessarily obligated to do that. I do believe that parents ought to, your kids move with you for your life. And if you need care and your kids are willing to help you, you need to move where they are. And I've taught that in my church when I was pastoring, that you go where your kids are. You don't uproot their life because you don't want to leave your house. And
when they're
whatever.
under your roof, they do that. They follow you around everywhere, you
right.
know.
And so, as much as possible, you need to honor them in that in their age and so forth. Angela and I have had this conversation many times about parenting, or about parents, just the sense of you only get one set of parents in reality, right? You only have one opportunity to have those parents. And probably the bigger thing that I've noticed is when they die, people who did not put forth the effort to honor their parents often have a lot of regret and or bitterness that they cannot ever seem to get over because
there's no one to make it right
there's
with.
no one to make it right with. That's right. And I'm impressed by this idea. This is not an original idea to me, but it is something I read some time ago, is that you don't have as many, you should not measure relationships in years. You should measure them in moments, because years don't give a relationship a proper evaluation. Like, my parents are 72, 73, and Angela's mom is 72. And if they were to live another 10 years, just, possibly, right? We travel full time now. So we see our parents really wants to twice, maybe 4 times a year, and they're not in town. And by the way, when we were in town, I feel like we spend more quality time with my parents now that we only see them occasionally than we did when we lived in town, and I think that's a tragedy that people get
Mhm.
busy and it becomes in your mind, you're like, "Well, they're right there.
I can see them
I can
whenever
see them whenever," but you don't see them.
because you don't take the time.
Right. And so purposely calling, purposely having visits, spending that time and putting the phone away when you're with them to, give them that attention
Mhm.
and so forth. Because what you really have is not 10 years. You may have less than 40 interactions, 40 moments. You think about that. 40 may sound like a lot, but over a decade,
Over 10 years, it's not very
40
much.
times, if that, it may be less than that, and you don't know. And there's no guarantee, your parents are going to live into their 80s, right?
Mhm.
And so, it may be 40, it may be 4,
Yeah, that's what I was fixing to say. Even if you break it down on that yearly level, for us, like, we probably see your parents more because they're here.
Mm.
Um,
Just because it's our home base and we
right,
pass through here.
right. So, I mean, even if we see them 4 times a year, that's it, 4 times.
Right.
Out of 365 days, we see them 4 days.
Right. And for some people, maybe you only see your parents on a holiday a year.
Yeah.
You don't maybe even see them that often every year. And so you don't have 10 years. You may have 10 interactions, and
Mhm.
that being it, and maybe a few phone calls and whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, calling your mom, calling your dad, FaceTiming if they're able, right? Um, we have Marco Polo. I'll Marco Polo my parents, or call. Angela calls her mom regularly. And then when we have the opportunity to be together, there's that moment. But I think honoring has somewhat to do with just the fact that you reach out and you try. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
trying is part of honoring, I guess is what I
Yes.
was trying to get to. So, but what about if they are in sin? I think this is the bigger issue for some people. What if my parents are doing wrong? What if they're, and I'm not meaning just like
What
I
if
don't
they
like what
have
they're
done
doing.
wrong?
What if they have actually done an offensive thing, wicked, sinful thing? And how do I respond to that? How do I honor a parent who is in sin and or has committed egregious sin and maybe even won't get right?
Yeah.
Won't acknowledge that they've done wrong. Um, do, am I required to honor a parent who's in sin? And the answer is yes, because the Bible doesn't say unless they're in sin.
Yeah, there were no qualifications to the honoring command. It just said honor.
Right. But also, there are biblical principles on how to respond to people that are in sin, and responding to people in love and honor in, instead of dishonor. Like, you can be respectful even when someone is in sin. And so, the Bible doesn't require like obedience to a parent once you're an adult, which, children obey your parents has to do with a young person who's under the authority of their parents still. As an adult, especially married, but
Especially married.
even as adults, over 20 years old, biblically speaking, I believe Kadesh Barnea marks 20-year-olds as morally accountable themselves, no longer under the authority of their parents. And maybe there's thoughts about male, female, and all that. Okay, whatever. However you term it, but there is a point at which you're your own authority, right? And you're not required to give obedience, like blind obedience to sinful behaviors. We ought to obey God rather than man is a principle that applies even in a father-child, mother-child relationship.
Mhm.
So I don't have to go along with sin. I should not excuse sin.
And I think we actually have talked about this in a previous podcast about how the boundaries, when your children get married,
Right.
you no longer control them. You no longer
Correct.
get to dictate what they do. All of that plays a part into this
Right. But
topic.
the other direction, right? We were
Yeah.
talking about children.
Right.
This going toward the parents.
Yeah.
You definitely have to, honor, but don't. It doesn't mean approving of their sin. And if that's what they want, if they say, well, you're disrespecting me because you
Won't
disagree
do.
with my sin or you disagree with my choices, like, well, I'm not going to endorse sinful behavior and I'm not going to encourage it or enable it, but I do respect you as the person that raised me, as my parent, and, I love you and I give you that place of respect, but I can't go along with the sin. So, I mean, not going along with sin is not disrespectful in
It's
that
not
sense.
dishonoring.
It's not dishonoring. Standing for truth is honoring. It's kind of like when I talk about excuse me, how do you know I love you? And sometimes I'll use this
Yeah, yeah.
illustration in church, like, I love you because I haven't killed you. And I haven't, I'm not talking about my wife here in this sense, but generally speaking, right? I'm not I won't, I'm not going to, if I love you, I'm not going to lie to you. If I love you, I'm not going to steal from you. Those are the commandments, right?
Mhm.
Well, similarly, honor has that kind of a sense too, where if I honor you, I'm not going to, um, I'm not gonna be in violation of God's law
Right.
towards you,
I'm going to speak
commandments to
truth
you.
in
I'm
love.
gonna speak truth, but in love. That's the key right there.
Yep.
And let me say, honoring does not mean you have to stay in an abusive relationship, though.
No.
If the parent's abusive, um, there's you don't have to subject yourself to abuse. That's not honoring does not mean allowing people to abuse you. At the same time, being gracious enough to not take offense at every little thing is an important, aspect of meekness
Right.
and not looking for offense, right? It's
Mhm.
one thing if there's certainly clear offenses. It's another thing if you're trying to find an offense to excuse you from not having to honor, and
Right.
that's a different thing. So those are some thoughts I have on that side of it. Excuse me. Oh, that was weird. All right.
You never know what you're gonna get on our podcast.
Yeah. As you honor as an adult, it kind of shifts, not like I was saying, not from kind of the childhood to um from obedience there to the idea of doing right by your parents.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, in a sense where someone has a sin in their life, I spent a lot of time thinking about what illustrations are there in the scriptures toward that end. And the one that comes to me as I meditated on that was the story of Gideon.
Okay.
Because Gideon's dad had idols. He had a grove and an altar to false gods. And God told Gideon to tear that down,
Mhm.
and he did. But even in tearing it down, he was not being dishonoring to his dad. And so that's kind of a interesting thought to me, because by taking a stand for truth and obeying God, some people might have taken that as disrespectful, dishonoring to his
Right.
father. What he didn't do was go around town telling everyone his father was, wicked and
Right.
all of that, right?
Okay, so
He
the
went and dealt with the situation. He dealt with the sin without being disrespectful to his father in a public way, or bringing shame to his father in that sense.
so kind of the opposite illustration of that, or the alter illustration of that, is Absalom concerning David.
Correct.
He was upset at his father because his father did not do right.
Right.
And what do we see him do? We see him talk bad about him. We see him turn people against him.
Right.
That was dishonoring.
Absolutely. Very dishonoring.
Yeah. So you have the two. You have Gideon's response and you have
Versus
Absalom's
Absalom's.
response.
Another illustration, although he wasn't a child of the person, Samuel was not dishonoring to Eli when he told him the truth about what God said.
Right.
And so
So it doesn't mean dishonoring.
it doesn't mean not telling people the truth.
Right. Because you're afraid it's going to hurt their feelings or whatever. It just means telling them truth, and you don't
But in
see
love, you see both in
yeah,
both of those situations, you don't see a malice toward the parent.
no, but you do in Absalom.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so
Absolutely.
you see that manifest out.
Absolutely.
Wow. Wow.
So having that kind of concept of like, what's your attitude toward the parent, I think plays a part in this whole
Mhm.
question of are you honoring? Because you can do right things with a wicked attitude
Yes,
and it's dishonoring.
and your actions will show forth what your attitude is.
hmm And so that's a key thing. It so it would appear that you can honor your parents and do even if they're doing wrong, but not participate in the wrong
Mhm.
or endorse the wrong, and even decry the wrong while not dishonoring your parents.
Right.
So those are some interesting thoughts to me because those would seem and by the way, a parent who's in sin may take that as dishonoring, but that doesn't mean it is dishonoring.
And you can't help how other people are going to perceive what you do. You
Right.
can only make sure that your actions, attitudes, and things are right before the Lord.
Yes. And that's all you can
That's all
do,
you can
right? That's
do.
all you're accountable for.
Yep.
But just because they think you're dishonoring, I mean, make sure you're not. Make sure your heart's right. Make sure your spirit is right.
Sure, your
But
actions are
yeah.
right.
So, how do you deal with a parent who is maybe takes it wrong and gets angry if you don't do what they want you to do or
Mhm.
respond how they want you to respond? Say that's dishonoring or something like that.
Mhm.
Well, you practice forgiveness. We've talked about biblical
Mhm.
forgiveness, obviously. You pursue God's grace and, try and show grace to them in spite of wrongdoing.
Mhm.
And remember that you need grace. I love the fact that, the Bible says, you know, you'll receive the mercy that you extend, right? And you'll receive the grace that you extend. There's that principle of sowing and reaping and judgment according to how you judge and all
Mhm.
of those type of things. And it's interesting the idea that someone would say, my parents were horrible and they don't deserve to be honored, and then turn around and want their children to
To
honor
honor
them.
them, right.
But it's kind of like when I teach on submission that I talk about the fact is that as a husband, I show my wife what submission looks like by the way I submit to the authorities in my life. When when my authorities might not be right, in my opinion, right?
Mhm.
Or I might say, "Ugh, they're wrong about this." Well, they may be, but how do I show submission in that moment? Am I able to submit to someone who is wrong? And I'm not talking about morally wrong and in sin and going along with that. I'm talking about just a difference of what I think they ought to do versus what they choose to do.
Right.
That is when I learn to practice submission. It's not submission if I agree, it's submission when I disagree. And I teach my family how to submit based on how I submit.
Mhm.
And so a guy who says to his wife and children, "You need to submit to me," but he won't submit to his boss, he won't submit to the government, he won't submit to the pastor. He's the man and no one's going to tell him what to do. Well, all he's doing is destroying his family's perspective of what submission means because they're going to learn it from him. And when you think about it like that, your children are learning what it means to honor
Right.
from you,
Yep.
right? What kind of honor are you showing your parents? That's probably what you're going to get or worse,
Worse. And it's usually always worse.
right? And so and by the way, just because I honored my parents doesn't necessarily mean my children will honor me properly.
Because they have their
So
own
don't get
will.
a wrong perspective of
Yeah.
I deserve this because I did this. You need to do it because it's the right thing to do, because it's biblical, because God says to do it, and you want to be obedient to God and you want to follow
Sure.
his will and you want to be right with God.
Right.
Don't then presume that your children must do it or else, because God will deal with them and God will provide for you and take care of you, even if your kids are deadbeats,
Mhm.
so to speak.
That's true.
So, but showing that grace and dealing with that, I think is an important part of honoring the parents.
Mhm.
I do think you should strive to care for them as much as possible.
Sure.
And it doesn't mean you have to be the one there all the time, because if they have multiple children, maybe it's more conducive for one child than the rest of the kids.
Mhm.
But I don't think it should be that the children aren't willing.
Right.
And I think, like, for us, um, we've offered, like, for Angela's mom to live with us. And, even now, even though we travel full time, if that's what, she needed, we would certainly be willing to do that.
Mhm.
I don't think that is what would be best for her, and it's not needed, because there's Angela's sisters
Mhm.
there and willing to live in
Nephew and
with her and so forth. But is there a willingness to do what you ought to do or care for, as you would in that sense? So there's definitely a, investment willingness. And
Mhm.
and if you're not the one caring for them, you should at least be contributing to their care,
Right.
even if it's financial or whatever, so that there's a,
And
investment.
especially if they require a lot of care, if it takes a lot of time. And I mean, I've talked to people, other pastors' wives and ministry wives that have said, my parents require a lot of care. I'm in a position where I can't do that, but my sibling can, and so they do that. But I plan a week off to go take over for them so that they can go and have time away
Yeah.
and things. So you got to think about those things,
Right.
as well.
If they're not full time with you, what can you
Yeah,
do to A,
to help.
spend time with them, and B, be a help to those that are, maybe if they have a burdensome caring
Yes.
responsibility.
Yeah.
And not everyone does.
No, not everyone does, but if they do, that's an idea. Just throwing it out there because being a full time caretaker
Mhm.
is very stressful on a
Sure.
marriage. It's very stressful on a family. It's just very
We've
stressful
seen
on
that
a person.
over the years as pastoring.
Yeah, so just having someone even come in every once in a while and give you a week off so that you can decompress and have time away with just your spouse or with just your family.
Mhm.
I mean, that's huge. And, you shouldn't take that for granted. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
anyway.
So that's good. Angela and I have this plan that we're gonna spend when we get old and decrepit. So, like, next
Next
year,
year.
um, we're gonna
Wow.
spend 3 months each of each year with one of the kids, so that
3 months?
yeah, well, because we have 2 kids in Europe, and you can only be there 90 days without a visa. So we could go to one of theirs for 3 months and come back to one of the in the States for 3 months, then the other one for 3 months, and then the fourth one. See, that's why having 4 kids was such a good idea.
Huh, okay.
Yeah. And so she's just finding out about our plan, evidently. I know we've talked about this, so she's forgetful.
I didn't know it was 3 months. That's what I was questioning.
Well, I mean, they're gonna have to take care of us. And my goal is, I've told my kids this, by the way, too.
Oh my
Um,
word, not on the
yeah, I'm
radio.
gonna tell them. My goal is that my kids have to change as many of my diapers as I had to change of theirs. Told my kids that. They're like,
This is
"Yeah,
what you
Dad, you're gross."
this is what you get when we record at night.
Yeah, it's more fun that way. So, I'm just kidding. I don't wanna be in diapers. Well, I mean, depends.
Oh my goodness.
What? Although we could drive further with diapers.
Oh my word.
Think about
Is that
that.
your new strategy
We
now as
wouldn't
we
have to
travel the
stop for
country?
restrooms.
Okay, you gotta find a new person to ride with.
All right.
It's
Well,
time
never
for me
mind.
to find a place at home.
That's hilarious.
Oh.
Putting you at home.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so what were we saying? Okay, practical ways to honor your parents.
Yes.
Have nothing to do with diapers.
No.
Speak respectfully. Um, she's tickled. Pray for them.
Yes. We require lots of prayer,
We do
apparently.
require provide care if needed,
Yes.
right? Without enabling them, because if they're
Well, and I was gonna say that while ago. Sometimes,
without
sometimes,
enabling harm, like
yeah,
if you're caring for them because they're in sin and they won't quit their sin, that's not honor.
right. That's what I was just fixing to say, because sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes parents are engrossed in, and you can't enable them.
Or gross diapers.
Well, I have a feeling I can see in my future. Anyways, but that doesn't mean honoring them doesn't mean you still don't have boundaries, especially if they're
Yeah.
in sin like that,
Right.
But you still can honor them, and still have your boundaries in place as well.
Right. Okay. And then not shaming them publicly, not,
Right.
being publicly disrespectful
Yeah.
to them.
Keeping private things private.
Right.
Private. Your family matters to you.
And then work toward personal healing and restoration of the relationship, forgiveness, extending grace, working toward those things.
You see the opposite of that nowadays, like everywhere, where they cancel parents or they
Yes.
cancel, you know, relationships, siblings, whatever. And that's not right. The whole cancel culture is not right.
Right. I agree.
So that's not honoring.
It's dishonoring,
Mm.
particularly. So, okay. So those are some thoughts. Those are our thoughts on this particular topic, and then some random weird comments. So on top of that, anyway, we are pray for us. We're trying to get
Pray for us.
the new truck in order, and we have to sell the old truck, and so we've actually got someone that's going to take care of that side of things, and
Yeah.
even with mechanical issues that it's had, they are repaired, but even then the type of truck that we drive, because we have to pull our fifth wheel, it still has value, and so pray that'll
That
sell
will
and
get good value
get good
out of it.
value out of it, for what value is in it.
Mhm.
And then also we're going to be driving through mountains. This was the other reason we said it's not going to work if we're going to drive through the mountains and so forth, because we're going to Kansas, but there's no mountains there. But after Kansas, we're going to Colorado, and then Utah, and then New Mexico, and we'll be driving through lots of mountains going those directions.
Yes.
And so we appreciate your prayers for those, that travel and those meetings.
Mhm.
And it's going to be good. We're going to have some good meetings. I think we've got on this loop before we come back here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 7 meetings.
Yep.
So
Before we come back and get ready for the July
before Hope
conference.
Conference,
Yep.
and Hope Conference is our next big
Mhm.
thing. Although we'll do a regional Hope training in Colorado and a regional Hope training in New Mexico while we're out and about, and then we'll do our national conference here in July, and we're looking forward to that. And I'll be teaching in July, Life Issues Discipleship 2, and we'll have a great time doing the training with the Hope training
Mhm.
for those that want that, the counseling training, and then also we have Conquer Conference, which is
Yes.
for teens and college age,
Mhm.
and they had a great time last year with that, and it was really a great youth conference, but we call it Conquer Conference. We do it the same week, and then we also have activities for
the
the
younger
young
kids.
people, the younger kids, and nurseries and meals, and it's great. So
Yeah.
if you've never been to Hope Conference, highly encourage you to try and come out. We have a great time. It's a great week.
And
And
if you're
then in the evenings,
planning,
we have kind of revival services.
yes, all of the meals we
Meals are
provide all the meals.
provided, and
But if you are planning to come, go to hope4addictions.com and register,
please.
because we're trying to keep track of everybody, and then
And there is a small registration fee. I think it's $35 a person. That
something
covers your meals, though.
basically it covers meals.
Materials and meals. And
So, and I know that we do have some rooms available for
no,
pastors.
we're all
Are
full.
we all full? Okay. Well, I know Olivia, shout out to Olivia. She's done a tremendous job. She's got this, she was showing me today the spreadsheet of everybody that's coming,
Yes.
whose kids are going to what classes, so they know, how to prepare
Yeah.
and things for all of that. So, yeah. So, but the registration is key. So we make sure that you
It
get,
helps us greatly.
so that you get everything you need for all of everybody that's coming with
And
you.
if you've never been to Oklahoma City, you need to come. It's a great city. We
is a great
actually
city.
have a lot of really neat stuff.
We
And
love Oklahoma. We love Oklahoma City. It's just all of the pollen tries to kill us when we
that's
come home.
true.
So,
Had a
but
headache all day.
but if you haven't been, come. It is a great city, and there's a lot of things to do
So-
around here.
And I say that because the Conquer Conference in particular, they do a lot of activities, and the youth does a lot of activities. But there's
it's
a lot to do.
different every year.
And there's HTO here,
Oh,
and that's worth coming for. If you
Oh,
don't know what
man.
that is, look it up.
matter of fact, every
But-
time we're here, that's the first thing we get.
Right. So anyway, so that's great. Now, please like, share, and subscribe. And we have seen a really noticeable uptick recently and people engaging. So shout out to a few people. Heather
Yes, Heather commented on 3
podcasts.
Yes, and then
And
there was somebody else.
Also, Darla and Tori,
Yes.
and there was
Annie Pine, she commented.
Oh, yes?
Yes.
and then also on Facebook we had a comment,
Uh,
but I don't remember the name of the commenter over there. But we want to say thank you there, and so we really do appreciate your comments and your shares and your likes, and if you listen regular, please do subscribe, and that helps us out as well. And so we're very thankful for all the folks that listen, and we get a lot of positive feedback, especially
we
when
do.
we go to churches and people that come up and, man, this episode or that episode were really helpful to me.
Joshua Ricker, he commented.
Joshua Ricker, and I don't remember the one on Facebook though.
And there was one on YouTube. I can't remember.
YouTube, that's what I meant. YouTube. That YouTube is what I meant.
Yeah. They
So-
just commented on the last one, so if that was you, I can't remember your name. I'm
But
sorry.
thank you.
But thank you. Yes.
So we'll be heading out on Saturday. We'll be in Kansas the next recording.
Yes.
We were going to be in Kansas for 2 recordings,
Yeah.
but we'll be there for 1, and we're going to look forward to having another great conversation.
Yeah.
So
If you have topic suggestions, you can send them to Carter's with S, number 4
Hope,
at Hope.
number 4, hope at
at
gmail.com.
gmail.com.
Carter's for hope at gmail.com.
Yeah, I butchered all of that, didn't I? Anyway, send your suggestions there, or
Send them.
or message us on any of the platforms.
All right. We hope you have a great day.